Hey guys, it's Mike from Team OCG coming at you tonight with our Infernoid deck profile. It took us a while to get the cards. We actually ordered Pot of Extravagance and they ended up getting lost in the mail, which is just our luck. But I'm happy to finally have everything in, get the deck for you guys, so we're going to do the profile. Before I jump into that, make sure to check out our Facebook and our Instagram at the Team OCG. Make sure to subscribe and click the bell for more videos. And we're also going to include the dueling book deck list link in the description if you guys just want to check that out and give the deck a test. But I've been playing it really ever since the pandemic, and I've had a lot of success with it. It's a great deck for going second, for answering established boards, which right now is really the name of the game. So I'm going to jump right into it, give you guys a little bit of the description. So the first thing you do is you play 2 Anonku and 2 Deviati. These are the biggest ones, so these take 3 to summon from the hand or grave, banishing 3. Anonku negates spells and traps, Deviati negates monsters effects. He's a Dark Hole, he's a Heavy Storm. They're excellent. You don't want to play 3 just because they would break, but you need 2 in case you resolve either a Feast, and then you want to have them in the deck for Imagination. So they're good. For other big ones, I play 2 Cydamus. This is the non-targeting banishment. As far as the other big ones, he's probably the best, the most useful. Obviously, non-targeting banishment is phenomenal to answer established boards, out a lot of problem cards. I still play 1 Atondal. There's instances where this card is needed for the OTK. The most common OTK I do, interestingly enough, is with Dual Little Chimera or Wee Witch and just swing in with 2 big ones on a cleared board. And there's sometimes where if they have a monster face up, you can run over it with Atondal and then still push in for the, I think it's like 81 or 82 damage. So I think he's still useful. He comes up. And then the last big one, Sajet, the one nobody wants to draw, but I seem to have in every opening hand on Dueling Book. You need it for Void Feast, but you know, when you resolve the Feast play, especially if they force you to go first, it's phenomenal. For the small ones, 3 Decatron. I'm not really going to explain this. Best card in the deck. For the other small ones, I do play 2 Petrulia. This was the one in testing that I didn't really mind having in my hand. Summoning it tends to bait out a lot of back row. And right now I see a ton of Sky Striker and a ton of Altergeist, especially on Dueling Book. So I wanted to have that versatility to be able to answer some of those back rows. And then the last Infernoid I play is actually just Harmatic. I cut Antra, the reason being, like, Antra is phenomenal, you know, against established board and to bait stuff out. But like, as far as testing went, I wanted to destroy cards more often than I wanted to bounce them. Especially like Eldridge, I never want to bounce their Golden Lord. I would rather just have another card in place of that Antra in my hand, so I decided to stick with just Harmatic. It's 14 Infernoids in total, and then I play the Gamma package. This card is nuts. I was testing Lava Golem at the start of this format, and I will say this card is strictly better. Like, being able to answer your opponent's board turn 1 and then ensuring that, you know, your big plays like Imagination and like Monster Gate and whatnot are going to resolve is just too crucial to the deck. Like, what I found in testing was anytime you get Ash Blossomed, like, you pretty much lost. Like, if I try to Monster Gate and they Ash Blossom me, I lose. But vice versa, if I do that play and then am able to negate their Ash Blossom with either that or Called By, I won. Because they just ended up going so minus, and then you ditch all of them to the graveyard and just kill them. So I wanted to have as many options as I could in the main deck to deal with Ash. So this helps there. It also helps you go into Gamma to, or Omega, sorry. It helps you go into Omega to recycle your stuff late game, which is very useful because I don't play the highest Infernoid count. So it's 18 monsters in total for spells. You do have to play 3 Extravagance, unfortunately. Like, this deck got a little cheaper with Toon Chaos's release, but in testing I found that there really is no substitute. Like, this card does so much for this deck, especially when you open a hand with like 1 or 2 of the big Infernoids. They're pretty much blank cards. Like, you need something to dig for your spell cards, and that's where Extravagance really shines. So, you know, your extra deck is crucial, but as long as you have 1 Tierra to get the benefit of Imagination, you're pretty much good to go. For the Voids, I play the 3 Vanishment, and then with that 3 Imagination. These are pretty standard. Future Fusion, if you resolve it, you win. Very, very seldomly do I resolve this card and not win. And then in addition, like I said, with Gamma and negating Ash, having 3 called by also is working to stop Ash. And again, like if I try to resolve a monster gate or reasoning or imagination, if they try to Ash me and then I called by it, like it's pretty much GG from there. So it's been working great. I do the 3 monster gates. And then along with that, I do the 3 lair and then the 1 terraforming just to get lair. The idea here is that I always wanted to have lair whenever I had monster gate. And a big part of this is tributing your opponent's monsters to answer already established boards. So like lair can bait out cards, negates, and whatnot. And I also need to get to lair before I activate 1 monster gate so I don't mill them all. So I wanted to have the 4 copies. For the rest of the spells, 1 reasoning. I'd test it without this, but it's just another blowout card. Like if you resolve it and mill like even 5 Infernoids, like it just puts you so ahead that, you know, at the minimum, it baits out an Ash. And then 1 for 1, this is good to get you Decatron. A lot of the times you activate this prior to doing Monster Gate or Reasoning. Take one of the Decatrons out of the deck so you have a better chance of milling more Infernoids. And then last but not least, Void Feast. This card's insane. I actually side more copies of this card, but the idea here is if somebody forces you to go first and you open up with Banishment to search this, like you can put 3 negates on the board for nothing. So it's 40 cards, no more, no less. This is working really well. For the extra deck, I play 3 Tierra, and then along with that, I play 3 Elder. The idea here is that if you're playing Extravagance, you always want to have these cards. I see a lot of people cut 1 Elder. I disagree with that, and the reason I say that is because there are instances where if you use Vanishment, you can only summon Infernoid. So you'll use Vanishment to search Imagination, use Imagination to summon Tierra, and then want to have at least one of these to blow up your own Tierra. So if you Extravagance the 2 others, and you're forced to do that play, you can't use Gravity Controller to send it because it's not an Infernoid. So you're forced to blow it up and then answer your opponent's board with like a Nonku or something along those lines. So I think 3 of each is important. I play 1 Boral Sword, 1 Equimax. I didn't want to double down on either of these just because, like, yeah, Extravagance is a thing, but at the same time, in all of my testing, whenever I can make Equimax and kill them, I could also have made Boral Sword and killed them. So it was nice to have that versatility. I play 1 Phoenix, generic spell trap removal, really good. Link Karibo, if they impermanence your Decatron, it's great. I play 1 Ablaze, it's great in the mirror, it's also good to fetch their Ash Blossom and then use it to make Equimax. For the attack boosters, I play 1 Chimera, I play 1 Wee Witch. Again, this is like by far the most common OTK I do in the deck, so I don't know if like I'm playing it differently than other players that use the Equimax one more often, but like this and any 2 of the big ones is game. So, you know, that's if you have a lair already up, but still. And then Gravity Controller to remove your Tierra from the board, and then last but not least, a negative recycle your stuff. And then for the side deck, the side deck's pretty much a lot of theory right now, just because obviously tournaments haven't been going on, at least in my area. But we're hoping that changes soon. But this is what I would play. Double Lava Golem. Obviously, if you're going second, this card helps. That being said, I don't think you need 3 of it. When I was testing it, I found that like having 3 of it clumped a lot of the time. So I think 2 is okay. I do play a small artifact engine. So 1 Scythe, double Sanctum. The idea here is that I'm stopping my opponent from summoning from the extra deck, and then on, you know, if they force you to go first, you can side these in along with Trap Tricks, stop them from going into their extra deck, and then on your turn just kill them with Monster Gate or something. Same difference. So what I typically do, I side 2 of this, 2 of the Feast, and then I also side 3 Trap Tricks. And the idea here is that if I'm forced to go first, which, you know, most players are going to force me to do game 2 if I win game 1, especially they'll force me to go first, and I'll side in the 3 Trap Tricks, and then the double Feast, and then a lot of the time Sanctum, and then Dimensional Barrier, and I'll side out my Monster Gates and my Reasonings. And what that allows me to do is establish a board with Feast very quickly, and by doing that, I'm already not only am I summoning 3 Infernoids with negates, but I'm also filling up my graveyard with 2 additional Infernoids that are dumped via Decatron. And if they break that board, because obviously they can't just leave it there, I then have any of the big ones in the graveyard. So like I don't need those cards. I don't need those cards really to send a lot of cards to the graveyard. It just allows me to set up negates faster. So I love siding those in going first, and that's typically my strategy for game 2 and 3. Double Heavy Storm Duster. I play this over Twin Twister just because I don't like discarding cards. Like, as silly as that sounds, like, I understand that they all can float in the graveyard, and that's great, but at the same time, like, this is searchable with Trap Tricks. So I essentially can side in 5 copies of it, but at the same time, if, you know, I already have this, or if they don't have, like, Mystic Mine or something up, Trap Tricks can do other things. It can get me Feast, or it can get me Barrier, or it can get me Sanctum. So, and then double Barrier. Same idea as Sanctum. I want to stop him from going to the extra deck. This card just messes so many decks up. Like, if you hit this on Heroes and call Fusion, like, it's game over. 3 Trap Tricks. Again, searching all my trap pieces, so this is key card in the deck. And then my final card, 1 red Reboot. I honestly consider maining this at times just because I see a ton of Altergeist, and if you resolve this on Altergeist, like, the game is over. If you activate that and then Deviati them especially, like, there's just no way to come back from that, so it's great. It's a great one of. So that's it. I definitely recommend you guys test it out on Dueling Book. It's a really good deck. It's a really good rogue pick for the current format. In the meantime, definitely like, comment, subscribe, and check us out for more content coming up.